Hello. In this video we will be talking about getting at the truth in the text. Many times when people read books like the Bible, we miss the real full truth of the information because we overlook four important things. Often because of our bias, we are told what to believe. We have a tradition of certain belief systems. And so when we are reading, we don't get the truth of it because we overlook important elements of the text. And those four things we're going to talk about today. We're going to try to answer this question. How can I understand what I read? It's a very simple question, and the answer is actually also very simple. I'd like to put a disclaimer out right here that the four things are not exhaustive. That means there are other things to consider, but they are necessary. That means if we leave out any of those four things, we're likely to misunderstand what is being said. So what are the four things? The four things are the content, the context, the application, and the relevance of the passage. This is important. Those four things are necessary for the passage because if any of them is left out or distorted, the truth will be distorted. Alright, so let's talk about those four things. First of all, little quick definition here. The content is what we're reading. It's the simplest part of everything. We read things for content. It's the information that we're trying to get. The context, however, is the deepest part of it. It's the set of circumstances surrounding what is being read. That's the who, what, when, where, why, how of the content. And of course then we have the application, which is the purpose or the use of the information, and the relevance is how important or significant the information is. All four things are relevant. Unfortunately, most times people only focus on the content and the context. So let's talk quickly about the content. The content is, as we said, are the facts that are being shared. Now, we have to remember that when we're looking at content, it's what we look at first. It's the most straightforward thing, but it's easy to miss if we do not bear in mind the context. Remember that some words and phrases take on different meanings in different situations. That's why in your language arts class, they'll talk about context clues. Never ever take content out of its proper context, otherwise that will lead to confusion. So let's talk about context then. Context is the deepest and widest element we have to look at because it involves all kinds of things, past, present, future, the person who's speaking, and so on. It sets up the background for the content. And as we said, without context, content is useless. Different words and phrases have different meanings in different situations, so we have to bear that in mind. Also, we must consider the source. Who is the one sending the message or carrying the message? The audience. Who is the message for? The setting or location. What was going on? Where was this occurring? What time period are we talking about? What was the method in which the message was carried? And also, what was the purpose of the message? Some of these information may be as far back as in history. Context is built up from history, and sometimes it's connected to the future. Many times it's multiple locations, so we have to bear that in mind when we're reading. The next thing is the application, the purpose of the information or the use. Remember this important little statement: improper application distorts information. If the application is wrong, the information will not be reliable or useful, or it can be misused. Some things, while they are accurate, are not always useful for certain circumstances or situations. And one of the easiest ways to lie with facts is to just misapply them. That is, to just use them where they do not belong or take them out of their right context. And finally, relevance. When we talk about relevance, we're talking about the significance or importance of the content. What's the benefit for the reader or someone related to the reader? For the content to be meaningful, it has to have some value to the reader. And so you have to bear in mind the timing or the purpose and the audience of the information. Something may be relevant at one time but not relevant at another time. It may be relevant to one person, not to another person. It may be relevant at some location but not relevant somewhere else. So, how does this relate to the Bible? When you're reading the Bible, all four things must be borne in mind. If any of these four things are left out, then there's going to be some misinterpretation. The same applies to the newspaper. The same applies to a court case. The same applies to your textbook in school. So we must always ask the content. What is the Bible or whatever else we're reading says? What's the context? What are the circumstances in which it is said or surrounding the facts that are being shared? What is the application? What's the use or purpose of this information? And what is the relevance? How important is this information? In what ways can I use it or apply it to my life or to some other situation? Those four things are necessary to get at the truth in the text. Again, it's not exhaustive. That's not all you have to think about, but those things are necessary. Please check out our Facebook page, Education Beyond Schooling. And we're going to post more videos on this and other context and content. And I invite you to ask questions and share it on the page. And we will look at trying to put videos up on those things. Thanks for watching. Join us again soon.